Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tarot by Hilary Live. I'm not sure what's going on with my audio right now because that sounded really tinny and weird. But hopefully it sounded good to you guys. But it sounded like kind of choppy and strange. Not usually the crisp version of the intro that I like, but hopefully it's fine. Actually, now I know why. It's because of my settings. Oh, please. All right. That should be better. Ooh, okay. I don't know what was going on with that, but for some reason, I never have a problem, and I usually have my microphone set up in exactly the right way and my headphones set up in exactly the right way. And this time around, it decided to go to default settings and had both through here. So that was not good. So hopefully it doesn't sound too bad, though. Anyway, welcome to another episode of Tarot by Hilary Live. I am your hostess with the mostest, Hilary of tarotbyhilary.com, professional tarot reader and EFT practitioner, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, do not argue with me. You have intuition. Hopefully you can hear me and see me. If you can't, please let me know in the chat. And I can't even, why can't I even, there we go. I don't know what is going on with my chat window either. Let me check on the settings and get right back to you guys. Hold, please. Yeah, everything should be working. I don't know what's going on there where I can't even put in the comments. My comments are not available to me right now. All right, there it is. I'm not sure why I wasn't able to type in there before, but there it is. And hello, Katie. Hi. That's very, very weird. Like, I didn't even get like a chat window. It didn't even pop up until someone commented. Whatever. Jeez. Anyway, so tonight's episode, we are leading into kind of a predictive readings episode, maybe a little bit of techniques, tips, and tricks that I can give you about predictive reading. Ina is also here. Hello, welcome. And the reason why we're doing this, and this is kind of like a little, moment of inspiration that I had this week, actually a couple of days ago. I think I thought of this midweek. Was the big game is on Sunday, and you might not be a sports fan necessarily, but I know a lot of people in my circle are sports fans, particularly football fans. And sometimes, the nature of my my business or my job, it's just like they're like, hey, what are you thinking? What are you thinking for the outcome of this game? And I'm thinking about putting a little money on this game or this game or this prop bet or whatever. And I'm just like, you know what, guys, like, you can do whatever you want with your money, and that's fine and that's good. But like, don't come crying to me if I'm incorrect. It's just like gambling is gambling. That's why they call it gambling, as Geoffrey Chaucer says in the movie A Knight's Tale. It's just like that's why it's called gambling. But so this is an episode that we're doing with a pretty big, for entertainment purposes only, kind of caveats. And yes, unfortunately, there is a spammer in our midst. So please go ahead and ignore that person and block them, report them. And I believe Sophia has moderator access. So when she comes in here, she'll go ahead and use her moderator hat as necessary. Also, I have my moderator hat. So when I'm not in the middle of teaching something, I'll go ahead and do that. But yeah, so that is tonight's episode, is on predictive readings and giving you a couple of different tips and tricks that I use when I'm doing predictive readings. Now, most of the time when I'm doing readings, they're not really necessarily fortune telling, future casting, future tripping readings. A lot of the readings that I do are confirmation readings. And this is part of the reason why I start and end every episode of the live stream with putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, don't argue with me. You have intuition. The reason I say that is because I really do believe that. And I believe that a lot of the time when people come to me for a reading, they're coming to me for confirmation of their own intuition. And they just want a second opinion. Is my intuition correct? Am I intuiting this correctly? And most of the time, the reading will be there to confirm their intuition. And also, then I'll give them a couple of tips about how to recognize their intuition, because it doesn't speak in the same way to everyone. So we have to like get really quiet and pay attention to how our intuition presents itself to us as individuals. But yeah, that's kind of how I do my readings. A lot of them are confirmation readings. Now, that's not to say that I haven't, done my own share of predictions, because sometimes people will come and they'll ask for that too. Or especially when certain spreads can be really good for predictions. Certain spreads can be really good for introspection. Certain spreads can be really good for pattern recognition. So a lot of the time when I use the Celtic cross spread, for example, I call the last 4 cards of the Celtic cross like the future line, where it's just like, God, I think it's the 7th card. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. The seventh to the 10th card, the psychological influences up to the future final outcome card, that I call like the future line for a reason. Yes. And Sophia's here. She's got us. Moderator on the prowl. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you very much. So there are certain spreads that we can use that is particularly good for predictive readings, or it can simply be a matter of baking that kind of overview or glance into the question that you're asking. So, and also, I'm really happy that I attended Teresa Reed's tangents, transits, and wait, tangents, transits, and tangents. Wait. Anyway, the thing that she does on Instagram Live every morning. So I was attending that this morning, and there was a thing that she was doing with the fast fortunes, in which she pulled 3 cards, and then she talks about this technique that she did. And I love that technique. And it's also, I think, a technique that would be particularly good for our topic tonight on predictive readings. So I'll mention that later. And if I forget, please remind me so that I can remember to tell you. Anyway. So Sophia says, I love a saucy little 5-card Lenormand spread for predictive readings. I feel like I finally get the system now. All right. Well, Sophia, I might have to, I might have to pull you on to explain that why you finally get that Lenormand system now. And I agree with you. Like, tarot can do predictive readings, but Lenormand can be very harsh. Not gonna lie, but it also is very good for predictive readings. Like, tarot is great for the underlying motivations, but like the Lenormand is very much like this, and oh, by the way, this, and this person you can't trust, and this person this, and this person the sex is going to be good. I'm like, okay, Lenormands, all right. Speaking of that, where is my? I feel like I have a Lenormand deck close to hand. I think it's the Sawyer's Lenormand. Let me see if I can grab that. Yes, of course. It's right underneath my copy of How to Read Tarot. All right. Yes, Sawyer's Path Lenormand I have right here. So I have a bunch of decks next to me, by the way, knowing that I was going to be doing this topic. Yes, thank you, Katie. Tarot tangents and transits. I was missing the most essential T of that equation, wasn't I? And Sophia says straight for the jugular, that one. What, Lenormand? Yeah, yeah, pretty much. So I'm gonna try and open my black cherry seltzer on air, and hopefully I don't spray this everywhere. Wish me luck. But yeah, so the real reason why I got the inspiration to talk about predictive readings for this particular live stream, this particular Friday, is because the big game is on Sunday, and I have a lot of sportsy people that are around me. And so sometimes I will pull cards for them and be like, all right, this is what I think it's going to go like. And da, da, da. So we have a real world example of the big game on Sunday. And so for those of my friends who may not usually attend my live stream on Friday nights, I kind of put it out there to them like, hey, you might want to check out this week's live stream because I am going to be giving big game predictions in it. So if you want it, you got to come, you got to attend. And I also told that to Mr. Tarot by Hilary in the other room. I'm just like, you might want to tune in to tonight's episode. Just saying. Yes, Sorcery Underground is also very to the point for predictions. Yeah, let me grab that too. I will grab that after we do the astrology. And by the way, the astrology is not very kind to those of us who may be attending the big game parties. The reason I say the big game is because if I say the other words that are associated with the big football game, that's like a very much like a heavily, not only is it a trademark, but it's also like a very heavily enforced trademark. So some people like to play fast and loose and say what it is. Word for word, and I don't like to do that because that organization tends to be very litigious, shall I say. So I'm just going to say the big game. And did you know that? Did you know that they're particularly protective of that phrase or that name of the big game? Like I've seen things. I've seen like just like you can't say that or you can't advertise that. And it's like technically speaking, you can't. And it's just like I don't know if I'm as small potatoes as some other people. Like do I think that they're actually going to come after me for giving predictions and saying that phrase? Like, no, I don't think so, but I'd rather be on the safe side. Read between the lines for this episode. Okay. So, for those of you who are new to the live stream, let me explain the agenda a little bit. So, the main topic of tonight's episode is going to be smack in the middle of the episode. It's going to be on how to do predictive readings. And we're using the big game this weekend as a real world example. We can also use other things for real world examples, but that's like the most pressing one right now or the most obvious one right now. So that's why we're using that. But we usually start off the episode with astrology from the AstroBiz Digest, which is Teresa Reed's wonderful subscription service. You get for $99 a year, you get a year-long subscription with astrology in layman's terms straight to your email inbox. It's awesome. Highly, highly recommend it. So I'll usually give the astrology from that for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Then we move into the main topic of the episode. About midway through, we'll do the mid-episode reading, which is a chance to win a live reading from me on the broadcast. And let me put up that crawler to remind people. But again, that feature is only for live viewers. So this is a compelling reason to attend these live streams live and also stay tuned. Like, attend and stay on and hang around until at least the mid episode so you can win it and get your mid episode reading. Now, I do provide replays for all of these live streams. We've been doing this for about 3.5 years. So there are replays available on my Two of You channel and my Book of Face. So replays are available, but it's always more fun to attend live. And that's the reason why I've started to do the mid-episode reading, to encourage more live viewership. Then we'll continue with the main topic. And then at the end of the episode, we do the weekend forecast, which is me pulling a tarot card or an oracle card to tell you the energy of the weekend so you can go into the weekend prepared, not scared. So if that sounds good to everybody, go ahead and say so in the chat, and I'm going to go ahead and pull up the AstroBiz Digest. And hopefully I hope I actually put up the intro for predictive readings and not for something else. Just going to double check myself. Idiot check myself. No, I think I did. All right. Let's see. So here we go. So the AstroBiz Digest is here. And you should also be seeing a link to that in the chat as well. Don't click on that now, or click on it and have it as a tabby, and then you can take a look at that after the episode is over. But I'll go ahead and display it here. It's just thetarotlady.com/AstroBiz Digest in order to find out more about the AstroBiz Digest and get yourself a subscription. $99 for the year. It's so reasonable for the amount of information that you're getting. It's fantastic. All right. So I'm gonna hide that and that. Okay. So I know that there is a little bit going on. What's going on here? Oh. Checking my message boards. Jeez. Okay. Some people are aggressive and not in a good way. Let me see here. AstroBiz Digest, where are you? All right. AstroBiz Digest, weekly forecast for February 6th through the 12th. Oh, actually, did I want to tell this story? So this particular AstroBiz Digest had a really wonderful real world example of why checking the astrology can be so important. Especially, by the way, the AstroBiz Digest is geared towards entrepreneurs and business owners, but I found it to be very, very helpful in the planning of my own personal life. Oh, I should probably put up my overlay of some kind. I don't have one with the specific agenda for tonight, but I do have my stars and garters somewhere in here. Scrolling. Bringing it back, bringing back the stars. I know everyone loves them. And Billy Brown is asking, anything to tell me from Spirit? Well, I've got astrology coming up, and also if you want to stick around for the mid-episode reading, you might be eligible to win it. So stick around for that. But if you do want to book a reading with me, you can do so at tarotbyhilary.com. Please and thank you. All right. So this is a story from Teresa about how she used astrology to finally get her verified check mark on Instagram, or the gram of Insta. Sorry. So, an astrological story from Teresa Reed. So this is Teresa, not me. Okay. I have applied for verification on Instagram over and over again to no avail. So why would I even care? Well, getting that blue check mark lets folks know I'm the legit tarot lady. This is important because there's a massive scammer problem over there, and the metaphysical community has been hit hard. And I can also vouch for this. I've had at least 5 to 7 impersonators in the past year and a half. And I just had another one recently, like as recent as last week. So sadly, few of us have been verified. Over the past 2 years, Teresa had applied every month, which means that she's tried about 20 times unsuccessfully. She was ready to give up, but thought, what if I send in my application at a favorable astrological time? So, in her words, I waited until the exact moment the moon formed a lucky aspect on my power day, then crossed my fingers and went about my business. And just like that, I got the coveted blue check mark. Huzzah. Now, there may be logical reasons to consider. A few recent posts in Bustle raised her online presence. And even so, I'd like to think that my astrological plotting gave me an energetic edge. I'm just grateful to have that little check mark on my profile. I hope this will protect my followers and my brand. So, like, and if you've been here for a while in my orbit and watching my live streams, you would I have covered this topic before about spammers. I believe the episode name is Spammers, Scammers, and Charlatans, and how to recognize those people on multiple platforms. Doesn't necessarily have to be the gram of Insta. It can be another platform, but like, here's the things to watch out for. And most of all, I would say, if someone is following you and then coming after you saying like, Grand Rising, beloved, I have a message for you, blah, 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 like that's probably not going to be a legitimate reader, because most of us will not DM to solicit giving readings or to solicit clients. We're not going to do that. We already have enough to do. So you may want to check out that episode of Spammers, Scammers, and Charlatans. That is also on my Book of Face and my Two of You channel. You can search for it in there. It's a past live stream episode. Replays are available of all of my live streams. But I would highly recommend that if you have been noticing that uptick in a lot of spammer accounts. And again, this is really fresh in my mind because I've just got another one last week. So, but that is a real world astrological example of how astrology can help you plan your life and your business. Teresa used it in order to apply for verification, and she finally got it. So this is, I guess, 21st time the charm. Anyway, so overview of this week's astrological energy. The only major thing happening this week is Mercury moving into Aquarius on the 11th. So that would be tomorrow. This transit favors reason, which means it's best to keep a cool head even when dealing with the gnarliest of situations. The more rational you are, the more likely you'll make excellent business decisions. During these few weeks, you'll also want to update your software, learn new tech, brainstorm fresh ideas, and innovate. So instead of following the standard, set the trends. Mercury moves into Pisces on March 2nd. And then there's also a little bit of a PS for Teresa's friend, Tanya Geisler, which is, she's doing a 6-week program that focuses on uncovering your iconic identity. Let me know if you want to learn more about that, and I can send over the link. All right, are we ready for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Give me a hell yeah in the chat. Again, Billy, we are talking about how to do predictive readings on tonight's episode, but the mid-episode is going to be available around the halfway mark, and also we have the weekend forecast at the end of the episode. So those are the readings that are happening tonight. So stay tuned. Sophia says, woo! No, I need a nap. I I don't need astrology. I need a nap. And Katie says, yes, please. All right. So here we go. So for Friday today, February 10th, the morning is clear, so be sure to engage in networking or PR. Get your tax info together when Mercury conjuncts Pluto at 12:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you've been putting it off, now is the time to gather all of your documents for your accountant. It's always great to be ahead of the game. This aspect is also marvelous for research. If you need to get to the bottom of anything, you will. The moon sun trine at 10:39 p.m. means the evening could be social. You might rub elbows with influential types if you are attending an event or just out of town. So today, Friday, February 10th, is a power day for Libra and a weak day for Aries. So that is Friday. So for Saturday, Mercury dashes into brainy Aquarius at 6:22 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Saturday. Please read the info above the scopes to learn how to max out this transit. I already have. The Moon-Saturn trine at 8:07 a.m. is terrific for negotiations. A meeting over coffee and danishes could bear fruit. Finish the details over lunch when the moon stations void at 11:41 p.m. Oh, that must be a.m. Little typo there. Finish the details over lunch when the moon stations void at 11:41 a.m. You could seal the deal then. Mars sextile Chiron at 1:02 p.m. creates an empowered vibe for the rest of the weekend. Act on your instincts, take risks, and be an inspirational leader. At 1:34 p.m., the moon slithers into mysterious Scorpio, which prefers solo time. You could be torn between meeting the public and wanting to be left alone. Strike a balance when the moon squares Mercury at 2:27 p.m., the perfect hotspot for a time out. A few hours later, you can step back into motivational speaker mode. So that is Friday and that is Saturday. And we have quite a few spammers happening. I think it's all one and the same spammer happening. So if people are getting messaged by this person is not me. I'm not affiliated with this person. And this is an excellent example of what I'm talking about with regard to spammers. I would never think to go into somebody else's live stream and start soliciting to get clients. I would never do that. Never in a million years. So please, if you are getting messaged, report and block that person. And Sophia, I know, is also a moderator for the live stream. And she will be taking care of that too. She has moderator capabilities. So yeah, and if you would like to be a moderator for the live stream, if you're one of our regulars here, go ahead and send me a DM. Let me know, and I'll consider you for moderator status because, yeah. Billy's asking, was that a scam person? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Please ignore that. And Sophia will be moderating the chat to make sure that that doesn't happen. But, sometimes that kind of stuff happens, and she'll try and take care of that. But if you're able to go ahead and report and block that person, thank you. Yeah, I know. Sophia looked away for 1 second. Wild. And Zuri's here. Zuri crept in. Zuri. No one wants me moderating. No. Well, I mean, that would be fine. But I have a feeling that Zuri would be like, drop the hammer on these people, right? Yes, exactly. Ina or Ina, please let me know what your pronunciation is. I'm sure I'm butchering it right now. I prefer doing research and finding readers I vibe with rather than throwing money at randos. So no, thank you. Exactly. All right, let's continue. You're cracking me up, Zuri. Crack the whip. Yes. And Sophia, I'm with you. Yep. All right. So we still have to talk about Sunday. I mean, I wasn't looking either because I was reading the Astro Biz Digest for you guys, so I wasn't paying attention either. Okay, so Sunday is crystal clear for most of the day, and that is going to be key later on. Most of the day, use it for research or updating your budget or taxes. Once the moon opposes Uranus at 5:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you'll be ready to call it a night and a week. Unplug and rest. Saturday is a power day for Libra and a weekday for Aries, and Sunday is a power day for Scorpio and a weekday for Taurus. And this is the reason why I was saying, like, oh, that timing on Sunday is not that great, because we're supposed to be attending a party for the big game that we're going to be talking a little bit about tonight for predictive readings. So 5:43 p.m. I believe the game starts at 6. So okay. So if you are attending a big game party this weekend, just make sure you have your shields up and your boundaries intact, um, as of 5:43 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And before we move on to the actual Ina, okay, hold on a second. Ine, similar to Inez. Okay, Ine or Ine, Ine, Inez, Ine. Okay. I'm just not gonna say it so as not to offend your ears. But I'm seeing you. I'm seeing your comments. Um so yeah, before we move on to like predictive readings, I always want to open up the chat to how was your Monday? How was your Tuesday? Were there things that were happening that you're just like, huh, was there an astrological reason why that person was being such a dick to me? Or was there an astrological reason why I had a smooth sailing day on Tuesday? Or things were a little bit weird on Wednesday, but then it felt like the energy cleared a little bit. Let me know in the chat, and I'll take a look at the Astro Biz Digest and see if there was a reason why. And I'm going to hydrate. And as I am hydrating, as I'm waiting for, that question to be answered, whether or not you want to look at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever. A couple of administrative points, besides the moderating the chat for spammers. Like, geez, that was just like a wave there. So we have 2 new episodes, 2 new podcast episodes out. One is the Tarot by Hilary podcast, which is my standalone podcast that I release new episodes every Friday. And we have a new episode of the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast. So speaking of Teresa Reed, let me go to that one first. So Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast, episode 71 is Manifesting Jason Momoa with Teresa Reed, and you'll understand why we named it that when you listen to the episode. And it is a longer episode. Normally, we try and keep our episodes to a half an hour or under, but with our new interviewing of mentors series, those episodes might run a little bit over. It might run an hour to an hour and 15 minutes, because we don't want to restrict our time with our wonderful mentors, especially if they're sharing their time and their knowledge and their gifts with us. So, this is one that myself and Jamie took on, and Teresa shared so many really great nuggets of wisdom, including we must never take our elders, teachers, and mentors for granted. They deserve the ultimate respect for passing down their experience and wisdom. To be in the presence of greatness and knowledge is a gift, one that can be taken away in the blink of an eye. And this is kind of like our love letter, in a way, to our mentors by doing this, sub series in the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast on interviewing some of the mentors in the tarot and the metaphysical community. So this is the first of hopefully quite a few episodes that we're going to record. We've already recorded 2. And this is the first one that we've aired. So, very, very exciting stuff. And I hope you enjoy it and let us know how you like it. And Yeah, I'm like so excited for feedback on that episode. It was a joy to record. And, once you're on Teresa's radar, like, good luck to you. Like, really, good luck to you. So that's number one. Very exciting. And then the episode for the Tarot by Hilary podcast um, was very controversial. Um, one that I I originally wrote as a blog post several years ago um, about like probably the worst the worst reading that I've ever gotten. And one of the reasons that I became a professional tarot reader was like, hey, this is what not to do when you're reading for someone. So that episode is episode 28 of my own podcast, why I really started reading tarot, aka never. Oh gosh, I can't remember the full name of the episode. I'm looking right now. Open Spotify. Why I really started reading tarot, aka um, never tell a 12-year-old that they'll die young. And it's just like, and if you're wondering if that actually happened to me, yes, it did. All right, the chat has been a little bit quiet, so now I'm nervous. Hopefully, people are actually seeing me and hearing me. I'm just going to double check my settings, make sure everything's copacetic. Okay. Looks okay. I'm just going to do a little testy test there just to see if it pops up. Oh, yep, it does. Okay, cool. Thank you. All good. So no, no takers for astrology for the rest of the week. Speak now or forever hold your peace, or at least hold your peace until next week. By the way, next week we might do runes. Runes might be next week's episode. We're just quietly pondering your wisdom. Okay. Very flattering. Thank you. And Katie says, all good. I'm still seeing you. Just got nothing to request at this stage. Ooh, okay. Zuri says, ooh, I love runes. I have a set of beautiful carnelian runes that I got at a store in Bushwick, Catland. And they're gorgeous. And I actually activated them using Vroonvalder work. But and then now they're like they kind of have a personality to them. They're activated. They're like kind of alive in a way. And they're just so happy. They're just such a happy little set of runes, and they want to work with me so bad. And I'm just like, yeah. So I really need to make the effort and actually sit down and work with them. And unfortunately, I'm a little bit of a divination magpie. Like I'm like, if it intrigues me, like I'm gonna go to it, I'm gonna gravitate to it, and I'm gonna try it out. And so I feel a little bit like sometimes I have like a graveyard of divination that it's like it's not that it's a graveyard, it's just like I just haven't taken the time to really, make the effort to work or understand that system. So I feel a little bit bad about it, but like those tools never really hold it against me when I attempt to connect to them again. So and yes, I might be personifying some of these inanimate objects a little bit, but you know, if you are familiar with the divination system or you've attempted to work with a divination system or you've had cards or decks that have been mad at you, quote unquote, like you know what I'm talking about. And we actually had a request for the Card Slingers Coast to Coast episode on that particular subject. Like, why the hell, like, what do I do now that my deck is mad at me and I have no idea why? And it's just like, and is that a thing? And it's just like, yeah, it's a thing. And yeah, you might sound a little bit crazy because you are talking about an inanimate object, and sometimes we get a little bit too precious about our divination tools. But at the same time, like, I do know exactly what you're talking about too. Um, Sometimes it is like, oh, it's been a while since you've used me, so now I'm a little bit snippy with you. Just like, okay. Anyway, speaking of that, and speaking about predictive readings, so I don't really have like a hard and fast like agenda for you guys tonight about predictive readings, besides using something like the big game as an example. So I am going to take out my trusty tarot deck. I'll probably use my Radiant Rider Waite Smith, which is in this baggie over here. So let me grab that and hold that close. And then I also do have my Lenormand with me too. So now, when you're doing predictive readings, again, I usually don't do a ton of predictive readings because most of my readings end up being confirmation readings, where it's just like, so like, you knew he wasn't good for you, right? And like, your intuition told you that, right? And it's just like, but now you're coming to me and asking me, right? And it's just like, okay, you're correct. Like, and then I'll look out for certain cards to kind of like validate that experience or confirm. And it's just like, okay, well, if you're looking to see if your intuition was correct, I'm going to be looking for the High Priestess card. I'm going to be looking for the Moon card. I'm going to be looking for, if you've like detailed to me that like there's a betrayal in there, I'm probably going to be looking for the Seven of Swords or the Three of Swords. So there are certain cards that I will look for in order to confirm or deny that person's intuition. And it depends, and it will depend on the context of the reading too, which cards I'm going to be looking out for. And if those cards don't show up but other cards do, I will just read those cards and be like, yes, no, or this or whatever, and it just goes into like a regular reading. And most of the time I don't really delineate between, I guess, types of reading. I do say that it's just like most of the readings I do are confirmation in nature and not so much predictive readings, but I also don't really have a sense of, a delineation mark between confirmation and prediction. Like, do you know what I mean when I'm talking about that? Like, there is like that gray area, that in between, where it's just like I can't define what type of reading this is. All I know is it's a reading, and it's just like there might be a little bit of prediction in there. There might be a little bit of of pattern recognition in there, and there might be a little bit of confirmation in there, all rolled into one. So it might not be as clear cut as this is a confirmation reading, and this is this kind of reading, and this is a predictive reading. Makes sense to everybody? And of course, if you have any questions that come up that are that are related to the topic or even off topic and it comes to your mind, I'd be happy to answer them. Just put it in the chat. But here's the thing. I want to make sure that I talk about the technique that I saw used this morning in Teresa's Tarot Tangents and Transits Instagram live that she does every weekday morning. Because this morning she was using for the Fast Fortunes, in which she will pull cards for each of the zodiac signs, starting with Aries and ending at Pisces, and then she'll pull a card or cards for the collective. This time around, and she'll usually pull one card for each of the signs, but this time she did like kind of a hybrid reading, and she pulled 3 cards from 3 different decks. Like one was an oracle deck, and I think one was an oracle deck, and I think two were tarot decks. One of the tarot decks was a majors only, and then one was a full tarot deck with majors and minors. And then one was an oracle deck. So she pulled the 3 cards, and then she said, this is a technique that I like to use to kind of do a summation, especially if you're using a combination of cards. Like, take those 3 cards and come up with one word that summarizes or that is applicable to all 3 cards. And I was just like, "Oh my god, that's amazing." Like, and I feel like I've heard that tip before, but I've never really, like, integrated it, but it's just like, "Oh, that's such a good idea," or "That's such a good tip," especially if you're having trouble, doing summations at the end of a reading, because sometimes it's just like, especially if you're a newer reader, or you don't feel quite, like, secure yet in your readings, you'll do, like, "This card means this, and this card means this, and this card means this," and then you get to, okay, well, what does this reading mean altogether? You're just like, you can't put the pieces together. I was just like, oh, that technique would be really good for summation if you're having trouble summarizing. But you're really good at, like, this means this and this and it. If you're really good at individual readings and individual card interpretations, but you're having trouble putting the pieces together, that I thought was a really good idea. So take those three cards and find one word to describe and summarize all three cards. And I was just like, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that and I'm going to bring that up in tonight's live stream because it works. I think that tip will work so well for what we're doing for tonight's episode of predictive readings. So Katie says experience of life is a little of all those three parts: intuition, experience, and prediction. I agree. I agree. And hey, we might even do that with the mid-episode reading. Even though I'm much better at summations than I used to be. But then again, I have been doing it for a really long time. So I should hope that comes a little bit more easy to me now than it used to. All my wires are like fighting with each other over on the side of my computer. Um, and then another thing about predictive readings or doing predictive readings is, you know, have that caveat of for entertainment purposes only, like we're like it can be an uncomfortable position to be in to have clients expect guarantees out of you, especially this kind of business. It's just like, even if a reader was the most accurate reader on the planet, there is still that thing called free will. So our accuracy could only be about like 85%, maybe 80%, with regarding free will, because there's motivations. We can pick up on the motivations pretty easily when we're reading tarot, but then what people do with those motivations, that's a different story. And I have so many examples of this in both my personal and professional life. So that's number one. It's just like, we're not offering guarantees. All we can do is offer to read the cards to the best of our ability. So for entertainment purposes only, that phrase not only protects the clients, but also protects us as well. Like, remember, like, that reading is for them. It's not for you, you know? And doing predictive readings, and there is a little bit of the ego that starts to step in, and then it's just like, oh my god, I was right, I'm the best person alive, I'm the most powerful tarot reader alive. And it's just like, and then if you have that attitude about it, your next reading is probably going to suck balls. You're going to get a bitch slap of humility pretty damn quickly. So it's just like, you have to have the confidence to read, but you also have the humility and the humbleness to read as well. Like, that's what it really takes, that combination, to be a professional reader. But that being said, coming at predictive readings with a sense of experimentation and a sense of play can also be very helpful, where it's just like, let's see. Let's try it. Like a past episode of the Card Slingers Coast to Coast podcast, I expressed my annoyance with someone asking me for the lotto numbers. And it's just like, hey, listen, if I could intuit the lotto numbers, like, we would be having a different conversation, or I would be in a different field of work, or maybe I wouldn't be offering tarot readings. And then Jamie's thoughts were just like, she's like, I'll play, I'll try it, I'll play, and it's just like, and it's just like, and also, and also if it hits, let me know, like share it with your tarot reader, but it's just like that sense of play cannot be ignored and it cannot be denied. And it really will help you. All right. So I know we have a couple questions in the chat here. So, do you ever get very specific questions about someone's future and how do you handle that? Questions like, how tall will my future husband be and when will I meet him? Absolutely. Absolutely. I've gotten very specific questions. And I will usually use that as a teaching moment for the person. And I do try and address those kind of expectations up front before we're even sitting down in the reading. And I can usually like spot that kind of person before I'm sitting and reading for them. And just basically say it's just like, hey, listen, we can look, we can see. But it's just like, how tall will my future husband be? And it's just like, is height really the most important thing to you in a life partner? And I'm not trying and I always try to avoid being condescending when I say it. And then the when, I'll usually bake it into the question. And I'll usually phrase it in such a way it's just like, how can I meet my husband in the next 3 months? Or how can I meet my life partner in the next 6 months? So I'll try and bake the time frame into the question that I'm asking so that we avoid the problems of um, timing questions in predictions. I'll bake it into the question. And usually like with like the talk of like significators, and it's just like, oh, well, if he's tall and dark haired and da 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 da, it would be the king of wands or the king of swords, da, 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 and it's just like, and then I'm going to be looking out for that particular card. It's just like, I don't use significators in that way because a lot of the time I can intuit personality traits and sometimes astrological signs from the tarot, but I don't like to do physicality because then when they're expecting that tall, dark, and handsome stranger, to come in, they're going to be looking for that specific visual in their mind, and they might bypass someone that's really, really great. And I don't want that to happen. Does that make sense? So I try and address expectations like that before I'm even sitting in the reading space. Let me know if that answered your question. Oh, I don't know what I just said, Zuri. Let me know how you really feel, Hilary. I don't remember what I was saying when you said that. So Katie says, I usually tell people with a prediction that the moment they know this prediction, what they do with it impacts and immediately changes the situation and possible outcomes. Exactly. Exactly. It gets very timey-wimey and very strange. Oh, good. All of that makes sense. Thank you. Yeah, I really try and address those expectations before I'm even sitting at the reading table with a person. And most of the time, I've been very lucky with projecting myself in an authentic way on my website, on my verbiage, and everything to attract clients, so that those kind of clients don't really find me, but like when they do, I will try and address those expectations prior outside of the reading space so that when I'm in the reading space, like I kind of know what to expect. And sometimes if there is a question that I can't answer with the tarot or I don't want to answer with the tarot, I will be very clear about saying that. And then it's just like, and also about working with people too. It's just like, sometimes I sit with a person and I'm not getting anything. And you could be a very, very lovely person. You could be a wonderful person and I like you very much, or you're very nice, but I just can't read for you. It might not be an energetic match. And that's not a you problem. That's not a me problem. It's just a we problem. And in those cases, I might refer you to somebody else. And if I do, please don't take offense to that and act like I'm breaking up with you, because that's happened to me. I'm like all I want to do is have you have the best possible reading experience you can, and sometimes that's not gonna be with me, that's gonna be with someone that I refer you to. That's actually part of my human design as I think I'm a 2/4 manifester. I like to connect people with each other. And I do it that very naturally. So it's just like if it's not me that you're supposed to be learning from or getting a reading from, like I'll think of someone and they're just like, you would get along famously with this person. Let me make an introduction. But like, yeah, what Katie was saying, the moment they know that prediction, what they do with it impacts and immediately changes the situation, possible outcomes. And it's very matrix oracly. It's just like what'll bake your noodle is like if I didn't tell you about the vase breaking, would you have broke it? So and I've seen a lot of that kind of stuff happen. Another thing about I wasn't going to bring this up actually, but Mr. Tarot by Hilary reminded me of it when I was sitting on the couch before getting on the live stream. And I was telling him, what the topic of tonight's episode is going to be, and he was just like, "Oh, you mean like how you ruined your marriage proposal 3 times?" And I'm just like, "All right, easy, easy, buddy." And but that is a very true, real world example of predictions, and sometimes my big fat mouth changed the circumstances because I spoke that prediction to my now husband. I mean, like clearly it all worked out just fine. um and also little bits of like, how do you surprise a psychic? What's it like living with the psychic? How do you surprise someone like me? You go with the moment and not with the plan, because we're pretty good at picking up what the plan is. But if you swerve us in the moment, if you go with the moment and what you're feeling at the time, you could end up surprising us in a very delightful way. And that's kind of what ended up happening with you know me, my personality. Like I will go into, like, if I think someone's hiding something from me, I just go into overdrive and like all of my senses will turn on. Like I feel like I'm just one big like radar dish trying to pick up anything. And that was the problem when I sensed that my now husband wanted to propose to me. And so I was looking for every bit of information that I could, not just from the five senses, but also from the sixth sense. And there are many funny stories that go into that, and that's all available on my website if you want to look. There's an entire series of how I almost ruined my marriage proposal, 3 parts, and the conclusion. So, ooh, yeah, that's from this first season, actually. That reminds me of the Medium episode of her husband doing a surprise holiday, and you see her act surprised, and then when the husband is not in the scene, she pulls a fully packed suitcase from under the bed. Yep, that's actually in the first season of Medium, and I know that really quickly only because I just watched that episode like maybe 2 weeks ago because I have the first season of Medium on DVD. I really enjoyed that show. I really did enjoy some of the depictions that they did in the show because some of it was fairly accurate, especially like the dreams too, and how her dreams and just like, no, I know, and then it's just like she ends up being stumped because it's just like her dreams actually told her exactly what was going on, but the interpretation of the dreams is what stumped her. That happens frequently. But yeah, that's from the first season. I haven't watched it in years. You should go back. It kind of fell off in the last couple of seasons, honestly, which was disappointing for me. But you know, what can you do? Can't always last forever, right? But like from if memory serves, like if you don't have time to go back and read those blog posts, I think the first intuitive hit I got about it, I had a dream. No, first one was I thought he was going to propose at our favorite restaurant. Um, and I kind of like got a little bit of a clairvoyant hint. And sometimes when I get something strongly, like I will actually have a physical reaction, which I'm not a huge fan of. It's a little bit annoying and hard to walk around in the world when you're suddenly like hit with a vision like that kind of like fogs over your actual eyesight and causes you to like grip a railing so you don't fall down the stairs. Yeah. So I had this vision of him proposing at our favorite restaurant, and then and he like apparently I get a look on my face when I'm intuiting something. You may have seen this look when I've been doing the mid-episode reading on these live streams. But apparently I get a funny look on my face. Um, and and that's when he like kind of it's like, what did you see? And I'm just like, I don't want to say. And it's just like, well, what did you see? Like, what's wrong? Da, 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 and I'm just like, I don't want to say because I don't want to ruin things or whatever. And he kept on pushing me, and I'm just like, you're gonna propose and it's gonna be here. And then he got upset and he looked like he got a funny look on his face. And then that plan was ruined because I intuited it. So it's just like, okay, new plan. And then the second plan, I think he was gonna do something at the Star Wars convention. And then he was like, damn it. Like, stop that. And then the third one, he proposed at Epcot. One country in the World Showcase shy. He was going to do it in England, and he did it in Canada because he went with the moment and not with the plan. So that's a really short synopsis. But like, again, those predictions didn't happen with the tarot at all. But again, like learning how to recognize how your body reacts to your intuition can also help you with doing predictive readings. That might be more for yourself than for other people. Like, and we don't want to be like that, like what Katie said, you know, you see her act surprised and then she pulls out the suitcase. It's just like, we don't want to be dicks about it. Like, we don't want to hurt your feelings when that happens. And it's just like, that's really not our intention. It's just that, um, some of intuition and some of like anticipating can sometimes be a survival mechanism that we've picked up in our adolescence or our childhood years too. Just like we want that craving to know the information or to have more and more information is because we might not have had the information that we needed when we were younger. This is another musing from a tarot reader. So I'm going to put it to you guys. How do you want to do this? Do you want to do the mid-episode reading now? And then we'll do big game predictions, or do you want to do it the other way around? Do you want big game predictions first and seeing how some of this stuff is in action and then do the mid-episode reading? Let me know what you think in the chat. I should probably do podcast episodes on the how I nearly ruined my marriage proposal. Because that should be easy enough for me to do. It's just reading the articles that I wrote years ago. So a couple of questions to answer. What did I say about predictive readings in my book? P.S. If you have not ordered it yet, it's available. How to Read Tarot by this chick right here, Hilary Perry Haggerty. That's me. Available now, wherever you get your books. Don't remember talking necessarily about predictive readings in here. Sophia's reading my mind. I was gonna do both. Maybe a reading lab of sorts, mid-episode reading, but use it as a teaching tool. I was gonna do both. I was gonna do big game predictions and that too. Okay, Katie says mid-episode reading, and yes, do a podcast episode on it. I will. And Sophia is doing the air horn and the cash register noise for my book. Thank you. All right. Yeah, let's do the mid-episode reading then. And Billy, I hope you're still around. I hope you weren't scared off by all of the spammers trying to get to you. You're safe. You're in a safe space here. So yes, exactly. LOL. We know each other at this point. All right. do, 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 do. Since we're talking about predictive readings, I am going to use the word future. So to be considered for a live reading right here on the episode right now, drop the word future into the chat. And we also will be doing a reading. Yes. We'll be doing a reading, but we'll also be using this as a teaching point too for predictive reading. So drop the word future into the chat. And I think everyone that's in here right now is eligible for the mid-episode reading. I think. I can't remember who I read for last week. All right, Katie is in. And actually I'm going to use the new picker wheel because the picker wheel last week was like so I found another one. It's called Wheel of Names. So, and I think it's easier to work with too. So Katie is in. Sophia is in. You'll see what I mean in a second. It's definitely different. It's definitely different than our picker wheel. All right, Katie is in. Sophia is in. I'll give it another few minutes. I don't know. That concept of predictive readings is like fascinating to me, but also I have had those moments of like, how did I know that? And the ones that like really got to me were ones that I did without my cards when I was taking like what I call Intuition 101 at the Open Center. And I would go me and my friend in the city. And I think this place is still open, but maybe it's not. It was called the Three of Cups. I'm not joking with you in the slightest. It was called the Three of Cups, and it was a nice Italian restaurant and bar. And so we would meet and we would have drinks, and she would be my guinea pig for some of the homework that I would do. And so I would like take out my notebook and I would write things down, and then I would give her reading, and then she would like take notes as well, and then she would come back to me after a few weeks. And some of the things that I predicted for her came true within I think 6 months. Like and she's actually one of the original testimonials on my website. Let me see if I can find that. Don't be shy. If you would like to be considered for a live reading right here on the episode, please drop the word future into the chat. Okay. Ine is also in. I got you. I got you. Even if I can't pronounce her name correctly, I've got you. Let me find that. Yeah, where's my testimonials here? Ah, yeah. Um, So I found it. My reading with Hilary was also my first tarot reading, period. I really didn't know what to expect, but she put me immediately at ease, explaining the process and her approach to reading. She explained each card I pulled in detail, referencing traditional tarot interpretations as well as her intuition and previous personal experiences. In one reading, I found her readings to be extremely accurate with regard to both past situations and future events. In one reading, for example, she successfully predicted the job offer I was soon to receive and the identity of the person who would help me get it. Yeah, that blew my mind. I was just like, "Are you serious?" Like, I was right. And she was like, You were incredibly correct, and here's the reason why." And I'm just like, "I said that." She's like, "Yeah, you said it." Okay, Veronica. All right. Anybody else? Because we've got Katie, we've got Sophia, and we've got Veronica in here. I'll give it another minute and then we're going to do it. We're going to do it. By the way, um, another great example that we can use. We don't even have to go into like the sports predictions. I just figured we would do it because like this is like I'm telling you this is what I'm going to get hit with this weekend. Like, who's gonna win? Who's gonna win? All right, well, how much are they gonna win by? All right, well, what's the spread? Okay, well, what's the prop bet? What colored Gatorade are they going to are they going to spill on the winners? Um, and it just makes me think of when I did predictions for the big game for Maxim Magazine, and this is like years ago now. But that was really fascinating to do because while I enjoy football, I wouldn't say I'm entirely an expert on it. And usually, here's another key point of predictive readings: the less I know, the better. I know that seems strange. And also, by the way, Teresa ended up putting me in touch with that person and ended up getting me that particular feature. And of all the readers in that article, I was the most accurate. So, but the amazing part of that is that I did all of that on the phone with someone, pulling cards on the phone with the writer of the article. And like she would ask me a question and then I would pull a card and then I would give my explanation. Um, it was fascinating to her too. And but we did this phone interview in October before even the playoffs had started. So like all of this was just like there was not a single drop of like logical information that I was using to inform my predictions. And I ended up being like whatever, like I can't remember what it was exactly. I think I remember getting a card that reminded me of like the Archangel Michael. And so I said something like religious in nature. And I knew like about the saints. So I said the saints. And then they ended up being like in the number one position. Like they were the number one contenders, but I had no idea about that at the time. So does less is better stand true for all of your readings, or is it specifically true for predictive readings? That's a really good question. I would say for most, if not all of my readings, less is better because then my logical brain has less to jump in on and be like, I'll take over from here. It's just like, no, logical brain, you stay over here. Because sometimes intuition is very like off the wall. And oftentimes the most off the wall, I don't know why I'm saying this. Like I always preface, I don't like that I preface still, but I do still preface. I don't know why I'm saying this, but I feel the need to say it. I don't know how applicable this is to your reading, but I feel the need to say this. It ends up being the most pertinent part of the reading. So never be afraid to say the off the wall stuff because it's usually the thing that the client most needs to know. So, yes, most of the time, less is better for me, for my readings. And this is part of the reason where I've lost friendships because they had valued my readings or myself as a reader more than their friendship with me, and they deliberately would withhold information from me knowing that I would read on it better if I knew less. So that was kind of hurtful. But I don't talk to that person anymore. So, all right, are we ready for the picker wheel? Readings are closed. And I'm going to turn off the crawler. All right. But that's a really good question. Less is more most of the time. All right, we are using the new one, the Wheel of Names. Okay. And we have I need to push this live. Oh, pushed everything down. Hold on here. All right, come here. Come on. All right. So let me close that so you guys can see. So we have the names on the side. We have Katie, we have Sophia, we have Veronica. All right. So I don't know if there's a nice, fun sound. I hope there is. If there's not, I'm sorry about it. We might just go back to the picker wheel, but for some reason, the picker wheel was just not helpful last time. All right, clicking to spin. All right, Katie. We had a very, very, very light clicking sound and applause too, which is nice. I heard it. Hopefully you guys heard it too. So, Katie, think of a predictive question, but to my mind, honestly, again, like I was saying before, life's not, and as Katie most eloquently said, like life's not like that. Experience is not like that. Sometimes we have the future tripping, sometimes we have the confirmation, sometimes we have, something else. So ask your question. But if it is of a predictive nature, we can still use some of these techniques. If it's not, that's fine too. I'm sure there'll be some future tripping in there. And yeah, let's apply some of these techniques, like the one that I was mentioning from Teresa's live this morning. And if you have a particular preference on deck, let me know. I was just going to go for my Rider-Waite Smith. I could also mention another thing about prediction. But I don't necessarily know if I want to share this story right now. Maybe later. Maybe later when it actually is funnier and not so annoying. But we had today we had the sun card come up for our card's energy for the day, but it came up reversed. And my interpretation of it was like, bring joy, bring joy back into your life. Don't outsource your joy. And actually, there's a really good tapping from Gala Darling on the Tube of You available about like stop outsourcing, a tapping for stopping outsourcing your joy to other people. Highly, highly recommend it. But that's kind of like what I thought of when I saw the sun card reversed. But then something happened today. And I immediately thought sun reversed in a bad way. I'll talk about it when it's not so fresh to mind. It's like it was definitely not a good situation, but it also could have been much, much worse. So while we're waiting for Katie's question to come in, does everyone like the Wheel of Names? Should we continue with the Wheel of Names, or should we find another picker wheel? I kind of like the Wheel of Names. We can continue with that one. All right. So Katie is asking, I'm trying to get a feel for my new neighbor as my experience and natural hesitancy on trusting my new neighbor is raised against them. Okay. There's money involved, and I'm trying to work out if they're going to cheat me. And if there is anything on how I might stop them or reduce the impact. Woo! Okay. Okay, so good feedback about the Wheel of Names. It's cute. It was a pleasant wheel. Okay, so Katie's question. Trying to get feel for my new neighbor. Is it natural? Money involved. So yeah, I mean, like, okay. So looking at the question in the situation, like, is it predictive? Yes. Is it just confirmation? Also, yes. But we're talking about money, so I would not be surprised if Pentacles came up, certain Pentacles cards. And are they going to cheat me? I am wary, but also looking out for the Seven of Swords, which is usually a card of someone trying to pull the wool over someone's eyes, or like that cheat, that thief in the night kind of card. There are other cards that can also represent betrayal of some kind, but that's the one that I'm like looking out for. We are going to pull 3 cards. So I am, but that's a way to also help with your predictive readings. It's just like, think about the cards that you want to come up for that situation, and also think about the cards that you don't want to come up for that situation. So it's just like, here's the cards that would confirm your suspicions, and here's the cards that would counter those counter those assumptions, basically. All right. Shuffling, shuffling, shuffling. And we're also going to use Teresa's technique of that finding that one word to describe all three cards. Wow. Here's another thing too. You got to think about probabilities and ratios as well. Now, think about a tarot deck. A standard tarot deck is 22 cards of the major arcana, which are the major pivot points, sit up and pay attention, right? And then the rest of the deck is the minor suits, A's through 10, and then those court cards applicable to the four suits. All right. So that's another thing that I'm kind of like looking out for too. How many majors come up, how many minors come up, how minor is the minor, how major is the major, or how major is the minor. And the reason why I'm saying that is, Katie, you have three major arcana cards coming up. And I swear I have shuffled. I shuffled, I shuffled, I shuffled. And these cards are they're not necessarily big bats. They're not. They're actually quite okay. However, I would say, um, talk about confirmation. Your first card is the High Priestess. You know what you know. And that natural hesitancy to trust that is raised against them, there's also your intuition that's in there to protect you, but like, know what you know. And if there's red flags that are already being raised and your intuition is feeling like "Ugh," about them, like, one, I would ask yourself, who does this person remind me of? But two, is there a very valid reason for my intuition going into hyperdrive when I see this person or when I hear this person's name? You know? So High Priestess is the very first card, is just like, "Ooh, okay." But I wasn't even looking at the High Priestess as the very first card. I was looking at the fact that these are three major cards. 3 out of 3 major cards. Sit up and pay attention to this reason. I am not like seeing those three majors. It's not surprising to me at all that you got this reading today, that we spun the wheel and your name was called because you need this reading. So, High Priestess, number 1. Judgment card, number 2. By the way, High Priestess and Judgment are both upright. Judgment card. Your secondary question, there's money involved. I'm trying to work out if they're going to cheat me and if there's anything on how I might stop them or reduce the impact. The way you stop and reduce the impact is like, get the megaphone. Basically, like, you might have to really broadcast all of the information out that you have, make it known, make it clear, make it on the record so that everybody knows what you know. Do you know what I mean? Now, that might not be a traditional meaning or a traditional interpretation for the Judgment card, but all I'm seeing is that big horn and all of the people hearing that big horn. You might have to be that mouthpiece. That's your way of protecting yourself. I want this on the record. Oh, well, no, 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 no. We don't have to do with that. We don't. And it's just like, no, I want it on the record. I want it on the record that X, Y, and Z. Oh, if the phrase, this is another predictive reading thing. I usually get phrases that people have spoken to each other. Okay. If the phrase, we can ditch the formalities, or we can dispense or skip the formalities, or we can skip the steps, perk up. No, you cannot. No, you cannot. You have to get everything on the record and in public knowledge. Public knowledge. Got it? Yeah. Yep. Talk to the other neighbors. Talk to all the other neighbors. And that's not a fact-finding mission. It's not you are going to them to get the information from them. That is you going to the other neighbors and being like, "This is my experience. This is what's happening to me. You know, let's all band together." I wouldn't quite say it's a neighborhood watch situation, but it's like not that far away from that. It's just like, and I wouldn't say it's like an HOA kind of thing. It's like, it's just like that's that feeling of strength in numbers is there though. Yes. And keep the email stating all the stuff going on. Yes. And here's here's a corporate speak tip that I would do, because people would try this with me in like a corporate setting where it's just like we would have a meeting, just the two of us, and then they would say something to me verbally, and it's just like, and then I would leave the meeting and say, as per our meeting, here's my understanding of what was communicated. Please reply if you don't agree or something. Please confirm. So I would take anything that was verbal and put it in writing. um, I was going to include the other joining neighbor, i.e., I'm number two. The person I'm querying is number four, and I was going to include number six, their other neighbor. Yeah, that sounds good. Yep. Yes, I have done that already in one email with that. Cool, cool. So, and then you have the star card reversed as the last card. And the star card to me reversed is this kind of it's almost as if in dealing with the situation and in dealing with the situation differently, like it feels like it's playing out a past situation, but it's finally resolving in the way that you can live with, and that you can finally are just like, this is how I wished I had handled this, 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, or whatever. Or I wish that my mother or father or parents or whatever had handled this kind of situation in this way so that I wouldn't have this visceral reaction to the situation. But it feels almost like it is I know it's like it's money and this and people and everything, but it feels like a very like healing situation, you know. Feels very practical, but at the same time it's just like it's not just about practicality, it's also like it feels very much about your safety and building your safety back up, because the star card is about can be about, dreams, but it can also be about emotional healing too. And so I want to also do that technique that Teresa had talked about in this morning's live stream that she did, in which you take three cards and you summarize them. And actually, I'm going to ask everyone to do that, so that you have practice too. So take these three cards, the High Priestess first, the Judgment card second, and the Star card reversed third. And what is one word that you can give for all three? I'm not going to say mine. I'm not going to say mine until you all share yours. So I'll hold them up. So Katie says, okay, good. I'm cleaning up my mother's lack of cleanup. So that would be good if it's resolved. Yes, definitely safety and feeling secure. So Katie already participated. Safety, secure. Um, angelic. I see angelic energy in all 3. And then how can you apply that to the reading? Like, I feel like there's almost Yes, there's a mundane component that's there, but there's there's also this like kind of spiritual support on high that's in the situation too. May not feel very angelic all the time, but it's there. Yep. Sophia says, you know that you need to bring it to a higher up in order to resolve what's stuck. Hmm. Katie said, when I saw the angels in it, I read that to mean that there's angels supporting me. Yep. Yep. I would say that too. I'm going to keep holding it up. Anybody else wants to chime in with their word? Cuz I'm getting this sense of certainty. So along the same lines as Katie, safety, security, certainty, forthrightness, guided. Anyone else want to chime in? Cuz my hand's getting a little bit tired holding these up. Or if anybody else wants to add to the reading, they totally can. I mean, if we really want to play, Sophia, you want to come on here and pull 5 Lenormand cards for Katie? See the different divination systems in action, especially with predictive readings? It's fine if you don't want to. Because I don't think I have as much confidence in my Lenormand reading abilities as you do. Ah. Oh, okay. Sure. One moment. Oh. Ooh. I'm gonna find my overlay. You'll see why I chose this overlay in a second. I don't have to put on any for right now, but I know exactly where it is. So I don't know if she's going to go for the Sorcery Underground. Probably. Because Sorcery Underground, remember, is 3 divination systems in one. It's the tarot, it's Lenormand, and it's also playing cards. So there's a lot of information that can be gleaned there. I feel like these are, oh my. I think I have way more than 36 cards in here. But this I have to hand is the Sawyer's Path Lenormand. But like, look at the number 15, the bear. Look at Scythe, the mountain. Beautiful cards. By the way, quick tip on clearing a Lenormand deck. I like to just put them in order. And actually, you can do that with tarot too. Put your tarot deck in order. If you feel like you need to cleanse it and you don't have like incense or, a crystal, just put it in order and then set it aside. And then when you're ready to come back to it and shuffle it. Oh, I need to send you the link, don't I? Oh, please, Sophia. I'm just like, just waiting. All right. And thank you again to Sophia for being our moderator for the live stream, because that was a lot of energy being thrown at us. Yes, exactly. Katie's saying, get smacked from all sides by the sorcery underground. So Sophia, I've sent you the guest link in Messenger. But yeah, I might have to organize this Lenormand deck. Not just to, clear it, but also to make sure I have 36 and only 36 cards. That was interesting. At least nobody saw that, Sophia. It's fine. All right, you ready to come on? She'll explain. I'm the only one hearing what Sophia's saying right now. All right, ready? Okay. Let's switch that over. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can. Oh, no. Yes. No. Trying to put my branding. I'm trying to put my overlay on. Be nice and fancy. Let's see. It's kind of cute. I mean, I have to like prop it up that way. Sure. Okay. So Sophia was explaining before that it's just like, my settings were fine, and then all of a sudden, when I'm about to come on camera, they were not fine. That was what happened to me at the beginning of the broadcast. For some reason, my speaker was going through my my wireless headphones instead of on my microphone, and I have no idea why that was. So I think the intro for tonight's episode was a little bit fuzzy in nature, staticky in nature, as it were. But yeah. So you let me display the question again, but I think you've got a good sense of it. Trying to get a feel for my new neighbor. There's money involved. I'm trying to work it out if they're going to cheat me, and if there's anything on how I might stop them or reduce the impact. So we have gotten the tarot's interpretation and, applied a few little predictive tips and tricks to it, but let's see what the Lenormand or the Sorcery Underground has to say. So what deck are you using, Sophia?
I actually have Lua Lenormand.
Ooh.
Because I'm on my strictly Lenormand kick right now. I mean, it's as strict as I get with Lenormand, which is not strict at all. And so I just finished doing a 4-week Lenormand lab with Tom Benjamin. So all of that is up on the YouTubes. And also, shameless self promo, my newsletter drops on Monday, and I talk about that a little bit more. I'm listening to my wonderful mentor, Hilary, and doing what I'm doing.
do the newsletter. Do it.
And so I just finished writing that right before the live stream started. And so talking about that. So this month I'm focusing on Lenormand and sort of trying to abandon my more conventional sense of the system and focusing more on just, well, Crossroads is this to me, so that's what it is now. And instead of trying to fit into this whole subject modifier, basing it on English, because I agree with Tom on this, and it's that I think that there is a lot of validity to the traditional way of reading Lenormand, but I feel like using an English language structure can be a little bit limiting when it comes to divination, because when you pull cards, like I don't always have like a neat like subject modifier, whatever. Like for example, with Katie's reading, like it was the High Priestess, Judgment, and the Star Reversed. Like I feel like that fits neatly into like a conventional English sentence structure. But say the order was flipped, like say you had Judgment first, and then the Star, and then the High Priestess, it would be like a higher
It'd be
up.
different.
Yeah, a
It
higher
would
up
be a
healing
different
is,
reading.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it doesn't feel as light in nature if the judgment card came out first. And I probably would have said, yeah, you're judging your neighbor too harshly if the judgment card was the first card, but it wasn't. So
Exactly.
I totally hear you with the order. Like the order is important, or at least for this divination system, it's important. So
Yeah. So that's how I'm kind of doing it, is I'm allowing myself to abandon a lot of the rules of the system and just kind of allow myself to read Lenormand like tarot and tarot like Lenormand. And so that's
you're going to be so popular.
I know everyone's gonna love that. Oh man. If the YouTube Thoth thing didn't put the nail.
Let's see. Well, they haven't come in with pitchforks for you quite yet, Sophia.
Not
So I
yet.
think you're okay.
I'm not canceled yet. We have time.
So which Lenormand are you using?
I have the Lua. It's one of Mari Bento's.
Okay. So Katie, are you ready to get smacked around by that Lenormand?
All right. And I'm gonna pull 5. I feel like 3 with Lenormand, I feel like I don't have enough of a picture. So I like 5 because then I can kind of bookend it to give myself a little bit more of an understanding of the situation. So the tone of this is pretty similar to your reading, Hilary. The center of this is clouds. So everything's kind of foggy. Maybe this is a shady character, pun intended.
Mhm.
And then we also have we have the tower. So this is like an establishment, like seems like some sort of HOA situation dealing with some sort of like landlord situation or other neighbors, like things like that, like some sort of like institutional HOA type of deal. We have the fish card, makes sense. You're in a community, you're dealing with like a housing situation. We have the book. The book is closed, which I tend to take. Some people with Lenormand will change their meanings based on open or closed.
Mhm.
I think that the book being closed here is fortuitous and that you're going to be finally ready to close the chapter on this. And I also think that speaks to what Hilary had said about documentation. Like, make sure
Yeah.
you really have everything documented. And then the last card I have here is the snake. So, what I'm seeing
Okay.
here is that, and how I'm doing this is the clouds are in the middle and I'm mirroring around it. So, if I was to take the tower and the fish, so this is your community institution, that makes sense. And then it seems like the obscurity is being caused by the fact that this neighbor just isn't clear about their intentions, it seems. So
Mm.
perhaps a shady character, or they're not being upfront with you, or I think you're right to be concerned about some nefarious intentions here. Like the other thing with Lenormand is you can go whether it's positive or negative based on the color of the suit. So I have 2 spades, 1 neutral card, 2 neutral cards, 2 spades, 2 neutral cards, and a positive card. So here I would take it as that there's it's either neutral or negative in this sense, and I think it's really contingent upon how you handle it. And it seems as though you're going about this pretty level-headed about it, and that you really got to make sure that you're staying calm, you're not coming at it from a place of fire and vitriol and going guns a-blazing. I don't think that's going to help you here. I think you just need to really hammer in that all I want is peace and quiet and to be respected and for my property to be respected and for everything to just be nice and copacetic. And granted, that's not how everybody works. But so it seems like as long as you're documenting things, then this obscurity is going to start to go away.
Mm.
That's what I'm getting from the book. The book here seems kind of central.
Well, hopefully Katie is getting all of that because she said, I think this was before when you were talking about Lenormand, like you're putting nails in that coffin, you're really putting that lid on hard. And she did ask to get smacked around. Smack me around nicely, please. I think that's the nicest smackdown um, that we can possibly give for the situation. Yes, exactly. So Katie's saying that's what I was aiming at. Yeah, and I mean, like even the way that you phrased the question was so nice about like the other person, even if the other person was nefarious. You were just like, I have my own biases about neighbors, and I've been messed with before, so it could be me. It could be me, and my own biases tainting the situation a little bit. However, and then you went into asking your question, so it's just like you're as neutral and above board as you can be, because you know that screaming at the top of your lung, like, get off my lawn, like that's not gonna that's not gonna help. It's probably gonna add more to the fire than soothe. So and that's actually kind of a little bit about what the star is too. It's got those soothe and cool and waters. And also having the star card come up makes a lot of sense because we are I think we're in Aquarius season right now, and the
Yes.
star's astrological correspondence is Aquarius. So, having that Aquarian, like the good of the whole, can really help the situation. Yeah, I think we've given a very comprehensive reading here and shown exactly how predictive readings can work while also being very centered too. You know, yeah. Katie is saying, I'm trying not to get fired up, and I'm just trying to bring on peace and quiet and no issues because they may be my neighbors for 20 plus years. Good attitude. Good attitude to
Yeah.
have. Um, I think that's all we can possibly give to the situation. So thank you very much, Katie, for submitting your question and participating so willingly, because I know it can be a little bit intimidating to get read for publicly, even though it's just like, oh, free reading, yay! But it's just like sometimes you don't want to air out your stuff in front of other people, you know. But yeah, Sophia, while we have you on here, do you have any particular techniques or tricks or ways that you approach predictive readings?
Yes, absolutely. And before we pivot, I just want to remind Katie that your lived experiences are important. These are the things that inform how we go about our lives and all of these things. Don't feel like just because you have these internalized feelings about neighbors, don't feel like you have to put that to the wayside in this situation. Like, obviously, not every situation is the same. But if your intuition is telling you that this person does not have your best interests at heart, trust yourself. Like, there's a reason why we have these lived experiences, and there's a reason why we keep a hold of some of it. And it's that we can draw upon those past experiences to make informed decisions. So I don't want you to feel like you have to completely put aside all previous situations in order to go about this in a fair way. There's a way to go about it fairly and still remember what you know from other experiences.
That's so well put. So well put. So Katie also said, you have hit all this stuff I need, and I very much appreciate your readings. You're very welcome, Katie. Um, yeah, your experiences are your experiences, and they're there for a reason. So wise, Sophia, so wise. So yeah, Lenormand or particular tarot decks. I would love to know, do you have a particular tarot deck that you like for predictive readings?
It depends. So I've been using Lenormand for a lot of predictive stuff because I feel like it just gets through it faster. And I feel like I have difficulties with the predictive stuff because it's kind of just like which direction do I want to go about this? In terms of particular decks, I like the Thoth for it. It kind of handles it well. That's a deck where I feel like you can slap as much on top of it as possible. So with the predictive things, I feel like I have a ton that I can grab at where like I feel like say for example, someone the other day was asking me like when am I going to meet somebody? And I pulled a spread, 9 card box, typical little guy. And so I was looking through it and I'm like, not seeing a ton. So then I was like, all right, let's go numbers. And then so I went through all the numbers and I'm like, well, I know this is this and this is that. And then that made a little bit more sense. And then I was thinking, okay, well, let's think about this using the deacons. Like, is there a particular deacon that's pretty well represented? And then I looked at that and I was like, oh, I have like all 3 cards for the deacon of Aries. That's cool. And then I have 1 card for like this deacon, that deacon. I'm like, okay, well, it's predominantly Aries. And I'm seeing a lot of stuff about forward momentum like around it. And so then I was thinking, okay, so if I go based on that logic, then perhaps like I saw like I saw the star card and then I saw like all of the Aries cards. So I'm like, okay, but potentially you're meeting maybe an Aquarius during Aries season. Like maybe that's the thing. This was for a close friend, so we were very much just experimenting. But
Mm-hmm.
so that's something that I had tried and it was interesting. So we'll see. I'll have to ask my friend Noelle what happens in Aries
Mm-hmm.
season to find
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. But do you find that like you look for that prediction within the cards, or do you phrase the question in such a way to help focus that reading to have that predictive element to it?
I
Or is
kind
it
of see
both?
how the cards it's very much like a thing that I look for in the cards. And then the other way that I've done it is Al Juarez did a really cool class on predictive tarot reading at Newt's. And so I took his class about it. And so he has this whole system that he's cooked up, which is how he's structured all of the suits correspond to different like either months, days, years, and then they also correspond to particular seasons. And then based on the seasons and then all of that, you're able to kind of pin it down. And so far, using that, it's pretty on the nose.
Mhm. I love
So
him. I love I love
he is
Al.
the best.
He's awesome.
He's such a nice guy. And the other thing too is that when I was at Newt's, like he gave everyone chapstick, and like I used that tube in like a month, and I have yet to find chapstick as good. So I've been like debating messaging him to be like,
Oh, do
where's
it.
the chapstick hookup? I need to know. So yeah, like the Tarot Time chapstick is fabulous. Like amazing reader, great class, fabulous chapstick. I have been thinking about that chapstick for like ever since Newts. I used it within like the first month after Newts, and I've just been like, I'm like ridiculous. I have like a tiny little nubbin left of it, and I've just been
Mhm.
like, the yeah, Al is fabulous. Book him for a reading. Ask him about the chapstick.
I mean, like, it's so hard to find good chapstick these days.
I
I
know.
mean,
It's such a
you know?
good chapstick. It's like a good moisturizing chapstick. I'm like, I love a Burt's Bees, but like the Owl Tarot Time chapstick, different. I think it's the connection to the
It's
great beyond. Yeah.
it hits different. It hits
Yeah.
different.
Yeah. It's like that magical, mystical tarot chapstick, like he just, because it's time. So he just goes back in time and yeah, it works perfect. But so that's the method that I've been using and it's pretty dead on. So I'll use that on top of the 9 cards. So I'll do the 9 cards, so to see what's around, and then I'll be like, all right, fine, duh. And then I'll just pull the 2 cards, and that's usually how I solidify it in terms of
Mhm.
timing.
Mhm. And then is there any particular spreads that you do that you find are better at predictive readings? I mean, other than the 9 card.
That I'm still trying to cook up. Right now, predictive readings are something that I don't do as often. So it's something that I'm very much experimenting with. Like that's like my most recent things is like I'm learning how to knit socks and I'm learning how to do predictive readings. Like those are my two things right now. And so I'll have like magic time socks by the end of this, I think. And so I'm trying to figure it out because it's definitely something that I'm super interested in, but I don't have like a perfect method um just cooked up yet. So I've been
Mhm.
using Al's method with the 9 card, and I like that. And I kind of just use it as like, like the automatic writing
Mhm.
that people do. So I'll pull the 9 card and then I just keep going until it sticks is kind of my non-method at the moment.
Mhm. So everyone, if you wanna experiment with timing and you wanna book a reading with Sophia, benevolentcorvus.com. I'll find it somewhere where I'm sure it's in here somewhere. I'll find it. I'll put it in the chat. Um,
And and it's
go ahead.
Valentine's Day next week, so people should book either of us for relationship readings or
Book Sophia for relationship readings. You do not. I mean, I can do them. I just don't like them.
I like them.
Okay, like I'll give you.
I like a little drama. I'm young, I'm spry.
Uh,
I like to get into the middle.
I am just not a huge fan. I try and like I can do them. But and I'm good and I am good at them. It's just like I just don't enjoy doing them. And then I also have to like kind of put myself back into that position of like who I was at like that age or that
Mm.
age or that age where I was just like all I wanted to do was like have psychic powers and have a boyfriend. And it's just like, okay, well, one of those two things happened. Um
It's about where I'm at in life.
It's just like, well, one of those two, like that 50 there. But now that, I'm married and everything, I'm just like, oh, like not another will he or she come back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's just like, I have to extend that kind of compassion to that person because it's just like, I do know what that's like. I do understand. And I think a lot of us understand that impulse to go back to a relationship because it was just like the other person was ready to let it go, but I wasn't ready to let it go. I think it's more about us seeking closure on our own terms rather than actually being back with that person.
Yeah. I agree with that. I don't know. It's what you said with the psychic. It reminds me of what's that Adams Family quote? A girl her age, all she's thinking about is murder. I feel like a girl her age, all
Yes.
she's thinking about psychic powers and getting a
Yes.
boyfriend.
See, yeah, that sounds about right.
Isn't that what we all
Are
want at that age?
Yeah,
Psychic
that's what the
powers.
yes, yes, yes. I mean, like I did an entire article on that where it was just like there and I feel like at the time that I was a teenager, there was all of these board games coming out about that. Like there was like Dream Phone, but then there was also Ask Xandar, where you had like a little mechanical wizard and and it's just like swipe the coin over the top and it's just like this is this person will call soon and you flip the coin over and it's like you're crushed and then they look at they look and the phone's ringing and they're like ooh and I'm like oh my god all I want is Ask Xandar. I want Ask Xandar. I want psychic powers and I want him to call me. Yeah. Yeah, Katie's just like, is he coming back? No.
No.
Or the meme of like is he the right person for me and it's like the meme of all the cards spelling out dump him,
Hmm.
like the tarot cards spelling out dump him,
And then you'll get a
like
TikTok tarot reader saying, "It looks good."
it looks good. I don't like that's actually thank you for bringing that up especially around like the concept of how to do predictive readings and predictive readings in general. It's just like not every card can mean everything. Like
Well,
it just
yeah.
can't. It can't. And, just be really wary if you're on a social media site and those people are just like, is this message for you? Like, oh, he loves you. Oh, he's coming back. Oh, he should be on your doorstep right now. It's just like, those kind of people are preying on your most basic of anxieties and fears, and they're probably not legit. So,
Yeah.
and they
And when it
probably have
comes
thousands of followers.
Oh, yeah. Like 1.1 million followers every yeah. And but that's like the thing, like exactly like you said, like, do you really want the person back? I don't think so. Like, do a tapping with Hilary and discuss it and
Yes.
work on your limiting beliefs regarding relationships and think about why is it that you're drawn to people like people you should want to be with someone who enthusiastically wants to be with you. Like
Right.
like they should know they want to be with you the first time. And like granted, life happens, but like in general, they should want to be with you the first time.
Right. And it's just like, what is it about this time around that's different from last time? And it's just like, if the answer is nothing, then
Yeah.
you probably shouldn't be attempting the relationship a second time or a third time.
Or a
in my case,
fifth or a
in my
sixth.
case, it was third time. Third time was not the charm with my big ex. So, Katie is saying tapping with Hilary is awesome. Thank you very much. And actually, combining the two things, combining tarot and tapping, is just like unbelievable. So yeah, like I would not be surprised. Like if you want to book, like, or book a reading with Sophia and then come to me for a tapping, or come to me for both, or come to me for neither, but like, people need to have these kinds of somatic practices so that they can really understand, like all massage therapists know the issues are in our tissues, and it's just
Hmm.
like, and some of these issues are about worthiness, and like if you keep on going back to the same person, it's usually about, is like way more about you and what you think you deserve out of relationship rather than what is actually going on in the relationship.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm a zillennial in therapy, as most of us are. So it's kind of just like that's all I work on in therapy. Is it like it really just comes down to like where are you? And and is this person your grand rising true love twin flame, or do you just have recurring issues with boundaries? Or do you have recurring issues with dating emotionally unavailable people because you like the chase because it stimulates your attention deficit brain? Like
Mm.
what like those are the things. Like there's usually some sort of causation behind it. And like especially since and I'm tangenting so hard because I have attention deficit. So it's just like I feel like especially around the topic of Valentine's Day, like regarding twin flames, like I really strongly believe that the whole twin flame concept just perpetuates these awful, terrible relationships.
I
Because,
agree.
in my opinion, if it was truly your other half and your twin flame, they would not be treating you like that.
Yeah, I think the concept of twin flames and soulmates, it can be a really poor excuse for bad behavior. And I don't really like to talk about like soulmates. I think the concept, I think, is real. I think it does exist, but I like to think of it more as kindred spirits. And that applies to not only romantic relationships, but it applies to friendships as well. Like, I do think that my best friend is my soulmate,
Mm-hmm.
but she's also my best friend. Like, this is not a romantic relationship here. Also, uh quick tip on manifesting: be careful what you wish for and be specific, because she manifested me. Because she was like, I just want a partner who da 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 da, but she wasn't specific about romantic. So she's like, she got a partner, like, hey, how you doing? But not romantic in nature. She was just like, oh, I need to learn how to be more specific. But yeah. Katie is saying, you have just reminded me about tapping. I did some tapping to calm my anger with this recent stuff. Awesome. Great. And I'm open to suggestions about the next free tapping that I put up on the Tube of You. We already have 2 up there. We have one for sleep and resting your anxious bedtime brain. And we have another one on boundaries, setting them and maintaining them. And I came at it a very different way than I expected to, which was interesting. But I just like started writing down notes, and then I started going down a little bit of a rabbit hole, and then bringing it back again, because it wasn't so much about the boundaries. It was about like the resentment that is caused when people cross the boundaries, and it's also about like when you don't state your boundaries, you're not allowing people to know you fully. Which is something that I learned from Terry Cole, who is the author of Boundary Boss, which is an excellent, excellent book. I would highly recommend that if you have boundary issues, which I think everybody does because we're not taught it, and also cutting yourself immense amount of slack with not knowing boundaries, because it's just like we're not taught this in school. And also our families should be teaching us, but they're actually the ones that installed the buttons, where it's just like exactly where to press our buttons to make us go absolutely completely insane. So we have those 2 tappings up, but tapping for calming your anger, tapping to like release an ex from your life. I don't know. You can find a tapping for almost anything, but you might not be able to find a tapping on the specific things that you want to work on, and the way you're coming at them, because you might have like abandonment issues, for example, but your abandonment issues might be a very specific thing that is in your lived experience, because we were talking about that before. Your lived experience is important. But if I try to give you a generalized tapping that is meant for somebody else, it might not be effective for you. And that's the reason why personalized tapping comes in. Because generalized tapping can be really great, but when you personalize it for someone, it's just like, oh, okay, here's some movement there. Yeah. So, and also I really like to find tappings that are based on like the tarot cards, like what is coming up for me in the tarot. So I love like the combination of the 2 things. Like the other day, I did my newsletter. It was our February card of the month is the Hanged Man, or the Hanged One. And immediately I thought about a tapping that Gala Darling had done about like surrendering to the universe, or learning how to trust the universe. And I'm just like, that's a Hanged Man energy tapping. It's just like, no one likes the Hanged Man because it's just like, surrender. Your plan is not the plan. Your timeline is not necessarily what's going to play out, so you might as well get used to it now. So, yeah, major tangent, but it's all good. Anything else about predictive readings?
Get chapstick from Al.
Get chapstick from Al. Oh, you reminded me of another technique that if you don't have a divination deck to hand, this is something that I heard about from Melissa Sanova that she learned from Carrie Paris. You can use your purse as a divination method. Like you can do it for yes or no questions, or you can do it for whatever meaning you assign. But it's just like, I need a yes or no answer, or I need to know blah, 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 blah. And the first thing that I pick up in my purse is going to tell me the answer to my question. So it's kind of like a lesson in like finding meaning wherever you find meaning. So I'll give an example with like my makeup bag. All right. If it's a yes to having a drink of wine tonight, I'm going to get a red lipstick. And if it's a no, I'm going to get a glittered lipstick. It's a no.
Oh.
Because there's a glitter lipstick. Now, if the majority of your bag are glitter lipsticks, you might be stacking the odds against yourself. But that's a quick example.
That's when you do best, that's when you do best out of 3.
Best out of 3. It's just like, oh, come on, wine. But
It's
that's
like,
another technique you can
have you ever
use.
seen those videos where people are, like, asking a question, throwing pens into a cup?
Yes.
And then you see the people just pick them up and stick them in the cup.
It's just like, if we throw this into the cup, we're getting married. And then
And then they throw it.
the guy is just like in the other direction.
Love those.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Sophia, and showing us how Lenormand can work for predictive readings. I'm going to let you go so we can finish up with the weekend forecast. And thank you for moderating as always.
I'm
That
here.
was a little hectic before.
I'll get you. Be on your best behavior.
Bye. Come on. Okay. All right. Thank you again to Sophia. All good reminders there. And also, we kind of did. So we did the mid-episode reading. I did preface with doing Super Bowl predictions, but it doesn't seem like many people in the chat right now are interested in Super Bowl predictions. But this is another way that you can, do predictions, like pull 3 cards for one team, pull 3 cards for another team, see what cards come up. And sometimes with these predictive readings, especially if you're doing it on something that is you know not necessarily something that you know a lot about. Like I said before, for most of my readings, if I'm not familiar with something, or just like that less is more kind of mentality, I might like put down more information or give more information to the person that I'm giving the reading to. And it's just like, I don't know why I'm seeing this, but I'm going to say blah, blah, blah. And I'm just going to like not censor myself. And I'm just going to give all the information to them for them to do with what they will. And I think that's one of the purest forms of reading, really. It's just like here's the information, and just like interpret it for yourself. Especially if you're doing predictive readings, it's just like take it, put the puzzles together. Also, I've been watching a lot of Once Upon a Time again lately. I'm on like my, I don't know, my 10th rewatch from the beginning. I'm on start of season 3. So there's a lot of stuff with like Rumpelstiltskin and the nature of the future, and the nature of like fortune telling and prediction and fate and coincidence and this and that. So I really encourage you to like watch how the future is talked about in pop culture. And watch Once Upon a Time, especially the first couple of seasons. Some of the thoughts that Rumpelstiltskin gives on the future, very interesting. And also, one of the quotes that I take to heart, he says something to the effect of, like Henry, who is like the main protagonist that really starts the events in Once Upon a Time, who is just like a boy. He kind of like says to Rumpelstiltskin, it's just like, well, you know the future. Like, what do you have to be afraid of? Like, you know the future. So, like, you know what's going to happen. And he was just like, well, that's not really the nature of the future. It's just like, just because you know, it's never what you really expect it to be. I have to look up that quote. Time. There's a ton of good Once Upon a Time quotes too. Besides magic always coming with a price. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to find it, but look it up. Yeah, I've actually no, I found it. I found it. I knew it. The future is like a puzzle with missing pieces, difficult to read and never what you think. I knew I would find it. So are we ready for the weekend forecast? Speaking of that, like, okay, how to do predictions. We do them like every week. We do them with the mid-episode reading. We do them with the weekend forecast. So we're positing, like what's going to happen this weekend, or we're kind of asking like, what do I need to know about this weekend to be prepared for that energy? And also like, why do I do the Astrobiz Digest at the front of the episode for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? So you can kind of see astrologically like what's going on so you can better prepare. All right, I am going to pull. I say, actually, I'll leave it up to you. Do you want an oracle or do you want the tarot? Because I just realized what time it is, and I'm just like, I'm hungry, and I don't know why. And it's just like, oh, I haven't had dinner. And by the way, the tapping that I'm going to do today, I do tapping every single day. And I'll either do a tapping of my own, like I'll write things down and I'll tap and, I'll work on my own stuff, or I will search for a tapping online. And there's so many tappings out there to choose from. I'll usually do one from Gala Darling or Brad Yates, Tap with Brad. You can find those on the Tube of You. But I think I mentioned it before. Since the card of the day was the Sun card reversed, and it like talked a little bit about like finding simple joy or simple pleasures, I thought immediately about the tapping or tapping on, you know, stopping stopping myself from outsourcing my joy and finding my joy from within. And then I looked and I was just like, I'm sure there's a tapping for that. That sounds familiar. And so Gala actually did a tapping on tapping for stop outsourcing your joy. It is a tarot based tapping because she pulled cards and then she, created this tapping around what the theme of the cards were. But I thought Sun reversed, don't outsource your joy. So I had a different tarot conclusion, but we got to the same tapping. And so this was actually done 4 years ago. Um, so I'll go ahead and share it if you are interested in doing that tapping too. So you can do it on your own timeline. I'm probably going to do it right after I finish this live stream, or maybe after I eat something. So that is in the chat if you want to check that out and do that tapping. So Katie says Oracle sounds fun. Oracle it is. So let's go to the weekend forecast. And also I want to remind everyone that we do this every week, Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I think next week we're going to talk about runes, or we could talk about love readings, considering it is Valentine's Day next week. I don't know. I'll leave it up to you guys. And if you feel strongly either way, you can let me know. I think I'm going to go with Work Your Light. There are other Oracle decks that I have other than these two. But for some reason, I just haven't been going for them. So. Okay. All right, what do we need to know for this weekend? Ooh, some ancestral work. So we are getting the card Break the Chain, ancestral patterns, healing, and rewriting of the future. So that is a Break the Chain. That is an action card from the Work Your Light Oracle deck. And the interpretation is as follows. I'll leave that up here. You are being called to heal your family line or free yourself from living the life of your ancestors. This could mean letting go of an old pattern of your maternal or paternal line, healing trauma from the past that is not even yours, or observing old ways of being that no longer serve you. We carry emotional trauma in our luminous field for up to 7 generations back. This is why family patterns can be the hardest to break. Often, they are not even ours to begin with. But we do not know another way of being, and so we continue playing out the drama. The thing to notice when ancestral healing comes up is that you cannot heal another person, but your own healing can cause another person to choose to heal. Energy is freed up. You are being guided now to look at your life and decide how you want it to be. What ways of being or patterns are you ready to free yourself from? What part of your future do you want to rewrite? Rewrite. Now is the time to shake them off and dream a new future into being. So, your action step for this card for this weekend is: what old ways of being from your family line are you ready to let go of? Seek assistance from your support team, tribe, friends, healer, coach, etc., to begin freeing yourself from it now. So maybe this weekend is a good time to to book a tapping session with me, even though I don't think I have anything. I don't think I have anything available this weekend, unfortunately. But I do have time slots next week if you want to work on stuff with tarot or with tapping or with both. But someone needs to hear this, and whoever needs to hear this, you need to break the chain. You need to rewrite your future. And one of the ways you can rewrite your future is by doing some tapping. Really moving that energy through you and out so that you can get to the other side. That's quite a whammy there. Um, it's actually really interesting that that would come up because Sophia was talking a little bit about therapy before. I'm also in therapy. Awesome, it's great. Highly recommend it. But we've been talking a lot about you know my family lately. I'm just like, no, pick on him. Just like, I don't want to talk about my family. But also the ways that I have made myself small in order to keep the peace. And the times that I haven't spoken up or advocated for myself because it was just easier to stay quiet and just not say anything, or not express my needs. So that card coming up for this weekend, I'm just like, oh, I just want to kick rocks. I don't really want to really do this, but I know that I probably need to. So and I know everyone enjoys when a card comes for me too. I know you guys get a kick out of it, and it's just like, cards putting me on blast. Even the gentlest of oracle cards will put me on blast from time to time. Yeah, Katie says, good oracle card for everyone. I agree. So thank you all so much for watching. Again, a reminder, we do this every week, Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And next week, we will probably be talking about runes. Now, I am not a rune expert. I spoke a little bit about that before, that I have a bunch of rune Valdered activated, excited and animated runes that I really should be working with. And they're just like, yay, work with me, keep us close and safe. So I need to do that. So I'm not an expert in runes, but I will certainly bring the topic of runes to you, so that we can talk about it. So that's probably next week. Oh, good. I think Sophia wasn't here quite yet when I was talking about it. Ooh, I love runes. Good, good. I'm glad. We'll talk about runes next week. So Katie says, thank you, Hilary, for your time and knowledge, especially for the reading. Very appreciated. You're very, very welcome, Katie. And I thank you for coming here each and every week. I love my Friday night crew. You guys are the best. And I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't have people coming here and getting something out of it. So I really do appreciate it. Oh, well, you know what? Sophia might be tagging in for that episode. I might be volunteering you teach it. Teach us about runes. I did a 6-month study on it last year. Okay, then you know more about runes than I do. Katie says, have a good weekend. Everyone have a good weekend. To you too, Katie. So once again, I am Hilary, professional tarot reader and EFT tapping practitioner, demystifying the mystical and putting you in touch with the most beautiful of gifts, your own intuition. Because yes, my friends, do not argue with me. You have intuition. And you now know how to do predictive readings too. Have a wonderful, wonderful night. And have a wonderful weekend and a wonderful week ahead of you. And I will see you next week, same bat time, same bat channel, Friday night, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, over on the Book Face or the Tube of You. And replays of all episodes are available for your delectation. Bye.